overwhelmed or stressed lately, you're definitely not alone.
Every Friday, catch the Mental Health Podcast from 14 hours to 15 hours.
Join the conversation.
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 Good afternoon. Welcome to the Cavendish University Mental Health Society podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Tukuza Chikwakwa, also serving as the Arts Education and Social Sciences Faculty Chairperson under the Mental Health Society. And I am joined by beautiful ladies and one gent who are just going to introduce themselves.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Manika, and I am the president of the Mental Health Society.
Hello everyone, my name is Agresha Mwanza and I'm the Publicity Secretary for the Cavendish Mental Health Society.
Hello everyone, my name is Faven Aziz. I am the Best Female Advocate under the Mental Health and I am also the Public Relations Secretary for the BIT faculty.
Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Tembo, Mr. Popularity 2026 Mental Health Society.
Thank you so much for joining. So today we are discussing the uncovering the reality about mental health, and to discuss this topic our panelists are going to help us to understand what is the reality about mental health. So to just understand mental health, what is mental health?
All right. I think Agresha is one person that loves this question the most. So, Agresha.
Okay, thank you for that. So for me, I like to rely on the definition that the World Health Organization gives us of what mental health is, which is the state of well-being of a person that enables us to deal with the stresses of life. So for me, mental health is just summed up into that, because your mental well-being is the same as your physical well-being, but in this regard, it has more to do with your mind more than it has to do with the rest of your body, but that is as well connected. So how your mind works in the moment, how you feel mentally, is basically what your mental health is, according to what I believe in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Agresha. Just stay with you, Agresha. Why is mental health as important as physical health?
Okay, so I feel like it's common knowledge now that a lot of people are advocating for mental health, that how well you are mentally is related to how you will be physically. So I'll give an example. If you are maybe feeling very sad or having a low day, or you're feeling depressed, the likelihood of you waking up early or you having the motivation to cook or clean after yourself is very low. So that is how it's relating to your physical health, because how you are mentally is going to affect how you're functioning physically. So when you're good mentally, you're able to even smile without feeling like you're forcing it. You're able to take care of yourself without you doing anything that feels like it's a chore, rather than you just doing the basic things that you do on a normal basis. So I feel like you are in a position to, function properly without feeling like this thing is tiring me, that you usually do on a normal basis when you feel better. So that is how your mental health is related to your physical health.
Thank you so much. You know what has just if your mental health is in a good state, then you are able to function even physically. Thank you. Now, to just continue with this conversation, what are some of the common myths about mental health? Holly.
I think I would take on that topic. Mental health, to start with, mental health is something that we are all passionate about. It's something that a lot of people misunderstand, and we really want to just get it out there to the world to say mental health is not an illness. And a lot of people believe to say mental health is an illness or it's somebody going mad, but honestly speaking, it's none of that. As Agresha said, mental health is just the state of your well-being, and a lot of people to just think that mental health is you know, an illness or it's something that happens to just the big people, which is obviously not true. And I feel like that leads to the kids being ignored, the young youths being ignored, because a lot of people just think it happens to like the big people, you know.
Indeed. And you know, some people say mental health is only for mad people, or it only happens to elderly people, adults to be particular. But why does these myths continue to exist amongst us?
That could be because not a lot of people talk about mental health as they should. Not a lot of people are educated about mental health, and a lot of people are afraid. I don't really want to use the word afraid, but I feel like they're afraid of mental health because of their cultures, their beliefs, what they've been taught, what they were told, what they heard about mental health. Because you could see somebody, a mad person running there, and somebody would just be like, oh, that's because of mental health. Like, it's not, yeah. So I feel like it's a lack of education mainly.
Yeah, indeed. You know, I really liked it when you said culture background. Sometimes our culture shapes our perception about certain things. And you know, as Zambia, we are culture oriented. Yeah, now to just talk about what are some of the common causes of mental health, or factors that causes mental health, especially in universities.
Thank you very much for that. So commonly, most of the causes that students usually face, mainly it's based on like financial issues, maybe where we're coming from, the background, or rather maybe the group that we happen to mix with each other. You know, people at the end of the day have different opinions towards life or how they respond. So quite alright. From my personal perspective, I found it hard where, like, you see, when coming all the way from home, you come with one who was saying, okay, we're going to school, but what really exactly are we going to do in school? Then in the process of us being in school, we get manipulated with other people. At the end of the day, we start living a life that is different from where we're coming from. And it only happens to click back when that time for us going back home comes. And then you find us in a situation where, okay, this semester was something, this semester I didn't do what I'm supposed to do. Then we tend to reflect on it. And then the pressure comes in like real hard. Yeah. And sometimes it also has to do with self-discovery. So self-discovery is very important. At the end of the day, we know what is best for ourselves. Then in the process of us, it's easy for us to forget ourselves. We tend to put other people's needs before us. Then, let me put it like in a situation where okay, I have lost myself, I'm going through a hard time. Where to seek also advice really matters. You know, confidentiality also is key. And then looking at the society that we live in, it's really difficult to keep a secret. If I'm going through challenging, okay, I'll just have it between here. Okay, this is my current situation. I'm going through this, but it's very difficult on the other side of the person to keep it confidential to end from there. From my personal perspective, that's how I've seen it.
I love the fact that you say that academic pressure. You know, even in universities, our parents have much expectations for us. You know, they expect great results from us, and sometimes you just find that the course is hard. You're not understanding. You know, and our parents sometimes don't understand that. So academic pressure is really something that really affects our mental health as students in universities. And also one thing that I really love is financial challenges. You know, money. You know, when you do not have money, sometimes you just feel like I can't do certain things that I'm supposed to do because money is a requirement. Finances are requirements. So these really affect our mental health and also relationships. Madam Grace, a comment on that.
So also I feel like when it comes to relationships, yes, you need to be in a relationship with someone that understands you and understands your mental health also. So I think the narrative that we have when it comes to mental health, and I'll run it back to the question that you earlier asked. So mental health continues without people being able to talk about these things openly, because we have issues like you can't really open up and speak about these things because it's become like it's an issue, like it's an illness, as Gordie put it, and it continues to go on, and parents don't even know what's happening in the child's life, don't know what's happening, because this is not the conversation that we're freely having. So when it comes to relationships, yes, what I can say, first of all, I feel traumatized already by that question, Jonathan. But anyway,
Mental health though?
Mental health though. So for relationships, you need to be able to have conversations with your partner and say, look, I need a break. I'm not okay right now. Just give me a break. But then the narrative we have in a relationship, when you say, I need a break,
It's over.
it's over. Like, you know, I've actually done that before. Someone said, I need a break. I was like, okay, don't come back. But now, from what I learned is when someone needs a break, please give them that break. Because people are actually going through a lot. And in relationships, you need to be with someone that understands you, that, and also be in the same way you're able to understand yourself. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, our dear viewers. We're just going to come for the next segment. As for now, we take a break. Welcome back to yet an amazing and first ever mental health podcast here at Cavendish University, as we continue to uncover the reality about mental health. To just continue our conversation, my panelists, what are some of the signs that warning signs that someone may be passing through mental health?
So, when it comes to mental health, I think most of us are looking for very visible signs, especially if it's someone that you know that's having or dealing with mental health issues. Mostly we think, oh, someone's going to act some type of way, maybe they're going to address it in a different way, but then mental health signals are in the most silent ways. So if someone is not able to just speak to you, or maybe you just want to be isolated, you don't want to talk to everyone, you know, this person is just constantly moody, and this person just doesn't want to interact with other people, like, you know, you find peace with being alone. Those are one of the signs. And then also, one of the signs that, anyway, before I even add, Agresha, you have something to say?
Okay, so I think to add on to what you're saying, the signs that you wouldn't tell is a happy person. I feel like we've seen happy people do all sorts of things or find out they are going through something. The people that you least expect that are going through something might be going through something. The party of the group might be the one going through the worst days of their life. I feel like I do have personal experience with that. So you can be the party, the lively one among them, but you're the one who doesn't sleep at night. You're the one who cries themselves if they need to sleep, or the one who is always anxious or restless. And I feel like those are the things that you don't really look at. When someone is this happy person, when someone is this jovial person, you feel like they're going through anything. But I feel like the main story behind it for me is always be kind. Because it's not just the ones that are going to isolate themselves, they're also the ones that want to be in a crowd to feel among. Yeah. Thank you.
Alright, just to add up what Rachel was trying to say. So mostly, like she stated, like it's important you are always happy. There are certain people you find that when they are going through a tough time, they're stress eaters. There are some they lose appetite. There are some they refrain from other activities. They refrain from all sorts of activities, and then, for example, I'm a loud person, she's a loud person. So automatically when I see she's quiet, I'll be like, maybe there's something that is bothering her. And there are some, over some things, little, they end up rejuvenating it as something very big. So it's really important, like, try to mind our tone on how we reach out for our friends. And West, for the fact that we are in a very professional environment, a university like this one, so it's really important to try to conduct ourselves in certain situations. Rather, being able to read our friends' mood, and the fact that we are not just ordinary people here, we are ordinary. Yeah.
To just add on a little bit, I think from everything that has been said here, the point that drives home is to be, friendly and, be kind to everyone. And I feel like just because you notice your friend acting differently, don't just say, oh, like, look at her being or that, and look at her being, no, like, sit down with your friend. Even if they're not your friend, just ask them, like, how are you? Like, are you okay? If you feel that your friend is actually going through something, or they are not how they used to be, and you feel like you can't help them, like, try to find somebody that can help them. Don't just leave them stranded,
Yeah, and that's quite sorry. Also, I think one of the signs, with what he was saying, this was in reference to someone else, yes. But when it comes to yourself, I feel like this is where we need to pay attention to ourselves, What has changed about me? Why am I acting differently? Why do I want to isolate myself now? And this is why you need to pay attention to yourself, you need to pay attention to your emotions as a person, and that's something that's going to help you. So the signs are, if you do pay attention, so someone can be telling me, like Agasha can be saying, you've changed, like, so you're now quiet, what has happened? And I might not know that it's like, okay, no, I don't know why she's even saying that. And most people that's saying, what's happening, like, Monica, you've changed. But then, as personally, I wouldn't know that I've changed if I don't pay attention to how my body is, how I react, what's happening, why am I moody? When I go to this place, how do I feel, So one of the signs is, you only know through paying attention. Yeah, so when they said you need to understand everyone and be kind, also be kind to yourself. Be very kind to yourself, give grace to yourself.
Indeed, mental health begins with you. Self-acceptance begins with you. Yeah. And I really love the fact that you talked about us as advocates of mental health, to be kind, to be a listening ear, to be a voice of support. Sometimes people just fail to express themselves because of how we approach them, or how we actually show ourselves in terms of judgmental. Yeah. So it's really good that we need to be the voice that will support, the voice that will help one to open up. Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies and gents. And just to continue, when should someone report, or maybe when should someone seek professional help?
Okay, we need to focus on that one. So, one thing I'm always telling myself, or whenever I'm speaking somewhere or to people, I tell myself and others that your mental health is also a sum total of your emotions, a sum total of your thoughts, because immediately check, stress is normal. Being sad is normal, grieving is normal, happiness is normal. But when it reaches to a point where you cannot regulate your emotions, you cannot regulate your sadness, you cannot regulate your grief, you don't know how to cope, in short. The point where you cannot cope, you cannot see beyond where that restraint has left you. That is why you need to seek help. When you feel like you feel certain thoughts that are not good because you're sad, you feel a certain way because you are upset. I feel like those emotions are normal up until the point where you don't know how to deal with them, you don't know what to do with those things. So that is the point where you should seek professional help. Because I like the point that you mentioned earlier before the break, where you said, some people have misconceptions that mental illness has to do with being mad. And I've gotten that. I feel like the moment that I started advocating for mental health a few years back, people would respond to my statuses, so you talk to mad people, do you deal with mad people? And I feel like because of that misconception or lack of information, we can say ignorance, it has led people to not want to seek help because it looks like you've gone near mad. But it is beyond that. You know, you have people to help you in hospitals, in centers. You can talk to someone. That's the point where you need to seek help. When you see that you cannot regulate, you cannot self-regulate. You know, it's not wrong if they're going to put you on medication. They'll put you on antidepressants or they'll tell you to start therapy. It is not wrong for you to do that because on your own it's like you're not regulating that. And it's okay to start with someone helping you to navigate your own emotions because at the end of the day, for you to move past that, you must feel it. If it's grief, you must grieve for you to move past it. If it's sadness, you must be sad for you to move past it rather than holding on to it. So I feel like that's the first thing you can do. Seeking help whenever you feel like you can self-regulate.
Thank you so much. And just to conclude our conversation, we have talked about what mental health is, common myths about mental health, and signs and symptoms of someone who's passing through mental health. But how can one maintain their good mental health?
Let me just build it up. So, how one's supposed to keep them at the end of the day, it's okay not to be okay. So, just the statement itself, mental health, it's not all about being sick or being ill. It's how you're able to cope into a day-to-day. When life is, you're going through ups and downs, how are you able to manage that? How are you able to blend in when such comes? Because at the end of the day, it's life at the end of the day. You're not the only one to experience such. There are some people, but at the end of the day, you might not know. Maybe the colleague that you're seated next to, they've experienced that, and it might be very easy for you to come out of it. Yeah. So mostly the society, they have difficulties in understanding the difference between mental illness and mental health. So illness is a condition that people happen. It could be chronic, it could be something that they're experiencing with time, but not only will be okay. But the health status of their mental or their mental well-being, how is it? How are they responding to it? That's where most people have challenges in understanding the way about it. Yeah.
And also I'd also like to add on that. So I think how one can maintain, I always relate this to your physical health. So you know, for you to be fine, you need to drink water constantly, you need to take your bath, you need to take care of your body, you need to exercise. Same applies to your mental health. So I feel like when it comes to you maintaining good mental health, personally I feel like it is possible, yes, but you need to allow your emotions to run smooth, like Aggression said. So don't put a pin on it and say, okay, for me to do this, I need to act this way. That's going to ruin your entire mental health. Hence, you need to allow yourself to feel, you need to allow yourself to breathe, you need to allow yourself to go through all these emotions for you to maintain a good mental health. So for you to, just like I earlier stated, when it comes to your physical health, yes. So for your physical health, you know how it is. You know, I'm at least taking just a walk. How can I put this? If I want to maybe be in good shape, right? I need to at least go to the gym, or not even just away from that. I need to at least exercise or just do anything to just keep myself in shape. I need to watch what I eat. I need to watch what I do. Same applies to your mental health. You need to watch what you do. You need to watch, this is why I earlier stated, I spoke about how you need to pay attention to your emotions. What is upsetting me, like why is this happening? And you need to be very intentional about your mental health. And just being able to take care of yourself as an individual is something that you alone can do. So yes, go to a therapist, do this, do that, but then allow your emotions to run as they should. Do not block them in any way. And most people can block a lot of things. You can block illness, but when it comes to your mental health, let's say I lose a loved one right now, I won't say, okay, let me not cry, I'm a strong person, I'm a mental health advocate. No, that's going to ruin my mental health. So allow your emotions to run.
Just to add on with that, I feel like how you can also maintain your a good mental health is mainly treating yourself like someone you love. Okay, so we always talk about this is how you should treat someone in love, if someone loves you, they treat you like this or they do what, it's the same way. Don't you love yourself? How are you supposed to treat yourself? Look at the way you treat. I love Grace, and there's a way I'm going to treat her. I'm going to respect her. I'm going to take care of her. What about me? Because I claim to love myself as a person. How am I taking care of myself? So for you to maintain that, I know she's touched on that. It's mainly just you doing things that are good for you. You know, there are days you go through things you don't understand. There are days that life is going to, you know, I feel like all of us are going to experience life, you know? True. But ideally, there are days, the only thing you'll be able to do is make your bed. There are days, the only thing you'll be able to do is make conflicts for the day. But at the end of the day, taking care of yourself requires that you also make sure you feel proud of yourself and acknowledge that. It's not the same way you tell someone you love, someone you cherish, who are proud of you. You know, I feel like unless you've been in that position, you feel very happy the day you make your bed, because I spent a week without making my bed, but today I did. So being kind to yourself and taking care of yourself like someone you love. Treat yourself like someone you love.
Lastly, I don't want to say too much, but I think the most important thing is get to know yourself. Know yourself. I feel like you can only help yourself if you know yourself. Same goes for, I can't help Adosha today if I don't know her, if I don't know what she's going through. Same goes for yourself. A lot of people think there's nothing to get to know about you, or that just because you are you, you know yourself. No, you don't. Like, take the time to know yourself, take the time to take yourself out, you know, treat yourself well, like they say, you know. I feel like that's the only way that you could overcome mental health, or you could treat mental health. Just get to know yourself. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that insightful information. You know, one thing that I've just gotten from all your responses is that you need to accept yourself. The moment you accept yourself, the moment you value yourself, then everything will go smoothly. And just to end this conversation, what would be your last word to that student, that person who might be passing through a mental health issue, or maybe has seen someone in their neighborhood or in their boarding houses or in their class who might be passing through the symptoms or the signs of mental health? Just in a minute.
Right. So for those people that might happen, they're going through a hard time. Me personally, what I would advise them: stop being in denial. Self-acceptance is very important. The answer to mental health, mental illness is accepting. Once you accept, okay, such thing has happened, what's my next step? Once you accept, automatically the solution will be there. Yeah. And to those that might happen to witness how people are going through all those tough times, don't just go on rushing, pointing fingers, but rather have time, learn your friends how they are trying to cope about, and provide them the relevant assistance they might need. Yeah.
One sentence, you know, seek help. Seek help. It's okay to seek help. It's not a sign of weakness to seek help, you know. So if you know to say you're not okay, seek help. You know, yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, so for me, if I would encourage someone, I would want them to understand that life, you're going to get hurt in life. Like, people are going to wound you, people are going to do things for you, and life is just going to do something to you. But one thing you must understand is you need to work on yourself. You need to address your hurt, like he's put it, you need to accept it. Because wounded people wound others. Okay, so because the more you hold on to your wound, you're going to end up wounding other people. So what I would say is treat your scars as signs of strength. Treat your scars as a reminder that something happened to you but it did not take you out.
Yes.
Like, you kept moving and you made it. And I feel like that would be a starting point, because you're always going to get hurt.
And I think also one thing I would like to say is the mental health is very important. And I use this word a lot. Be intentional about about your mental health. That a lot of people that look good, you know, they're very intentional about how you look. Like, I always want to look this way, I always want to look like a girl. You know, you're very intentional. The same applies to your mental health. Be very intentional. You don't only have to visit a therapist when things get bad, you know. Sometimes just go there, have a conversation with the therapist, and you know how and understand how your emotions work. Why do I do this? You know, sometimes it might not even be bad or sad emotions. Just go there and be able to love yourself. Most of us are seeking love from people outside from the world, but we don't love ourselves. This is why it gets to a breaking point where you know you don't even know what to do anymore because you've gotten at the last point. So take care of yourself, love yourself. I love what Agresha said about you just putting yourself out there, but you know, loving yourself in a very unique way. The same way I'd love, you know, the way someone else would just, you know, give you that love. Give that love to yourself, and you'll get to the point that you want to.
Thank you so much. You know, one thing I've gotten from this conversation is that mental health is something that is supposed to be taken as very important as your physical health, and you must be intentional. And that is why Cavendish University Mental Health Society is here to be a voice of support, a voice for the voiceless, a voice of hope. That is why we're advising you to join the Mental Health Society and be part of this conversation. Thank you so much, my panelists, for this insightful message. And I know that the dear viewers are getting something from this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. I was your host, Rosa Jonathan. So much for joining us on this podcast. You can stream our podcast on all streaming platforms and be part of the conversation. Till next time, see you.
Join the conversation.
Join the conversation.
Join the conversation.
Join the conversation.